Knights Templar, the forbidden mystery the Vatican failed to erase. In an age when kingdoms bent their knees to fear, when darkness crawled between stone walls and whispers of conspiracy traveled faster than armies, one name rose like an enigma no one could ignore: the Knights Templar. Imagine the absolute silence of an order so disciplined that even the winds seemed to wait for permission to blow. On the battlefield, they did not advance with screams, they did not raise fluttering banners, and they did not seek glory. They moved as a single entity, shaped by purpose, silence, and a code the world never fully understood. It was the kind of presence that made seasoned generals hesitate and caused the shine of enemy armor to dim, as if even the light itself faltered before them. Yet the true power of the Templars was never in their swords, but in the mystery they carried. Now imagine opening a forbidden manuscript, hidden for centuries within stone corridors of ancient archives, buried under dust, fear, and deliberate omissions. A record that reveals not just historical facts, but truths that challenge everything ever believed about the Middle Ages. The feeling of something forbidden, something that survived the flames of inquisitors, the silence of popes, and the collapse of empires. A secret that never vanished because it simply could not be destroyed. And this is where the story changes direction. This video is not a common narrative. It is the key that unlocks the door so many tried to seal forever. The mystery not even the Vatican managed to erase. The secret that made kings tremble and remained intact, protected by a pact of silence stronger than Templar steel. While most official versions echo through classrooms and textbooks, there are documents that have never seen the light of day. There are accounts ripped from chronicles, archives burned, not by ignorance, but by fear. And you are about to cross exactly that boundary. Prepare yourself, because this is not about battles, crusades, or heroic knights. This is about a truth buried so deeply that only now, after 8 centuries, it begins to surface. A puzzle whose pieces were scattered by monks, kings, inquisitors, and the Templars themselves, almost as if they all knew that one day someone would attempt to rebuild the full image. And at this very moment, you stand before the greatest revelation ever unveiled about them. Not a myth, not a legend, but the forbidden secret that was born before the order, grew with it, and survived its fall. Take a deep breath, adjust your vision, because from this point on, every word will reconstruct a missing link in history. Every scene will expose what was never meant to be seen, and every second will draw you closer to what the world tried to silence. From this moment forward, you step onto forbidden ground, and there is no turning back. There is a moment in every great mystery when the curtain lifts just enough for you to realize that everything you believed about the past was only the surface of a far deeper truth. With the Knights Templar, this moment arrives like a tremor beneath ancient stone, a warning that the path you are about to walk was never meant for ordinary eyes. Their story begins long before swords clashed or banners rose over desert winds. It begins in whispers, subtle, calculated, almost invisible, whispers that echoed through monasteries, royal courts, and papal chambers, carrying the weight of something far greater than a military order. To understand the Templars is to step into a world where faith, power, and secrecy collided in ways that shaped the future of entire nations. And yet, the most astonishing part is not what they did, but what was deliberately hidden about them. Imagine a Europe carved by fear, kingdoms collapsing under political tension, rulers desperate to hold control while shadows move beyond their understanding. In the midst of this fragile landscape, the Templars rose, not just as warriors, but as the architects of a system that blended devotion, strategy, and silence with an efficiency no other medieval force achieved. They built networks across continents, established financial structures that rivaled the greatest treasuries, and operated with a level of independence that startled even the most powerful monarchs. But within their rise lies the true enigma, a fragment of history so controversial that entire institutions mobilized to bury it. Chronicles were rewritten, testimonies vanished, and archives locked behind stone and secrecy. Yet traces remained, scattered like forgotten embers waiting to be reignited. As you enter this narrative, you will feel the shift, the sensation that something ancient and unfinished is calling from beneath centuries of dust. This is not merely a story about knights or crusades. It is the reconstruction of a truth protected with more determination than any fortress the Templars ever built. Every detail, every hidden symbol, every unexplained event you will see has survived attempts not just to conceal it, but to erase it completely. And here, in this exposure, lies the reason why history could not silence it. Some mysteries resist extinction because they are bound to the destiny of generations. They linger in ruins, manuscripts, and the collective memory of civilizations. Now, as you stand at the threshold of this forbidden narrative, prepare yourself for a revelation that challenges the official version of the past. You are not simply listening, you are uncovering. The deeper you go, the more you will realize that the Templars left behind more than relics and legends. They left warnings, codes, and truths that no authority dared to fully reveal. And the question that remains is this: what secret was so powerful, so disruptive, that even the mightiest institutions of the medieval world felt threatened by its existence? The answer awaits just ahead, hidden in plain sight, waiting for the one who dares to look closer. Every great mystery begins with a fracture, a small, almost imperceptible break in the official version of history. In the case of the Knights Templar, that fracture appears in the earliest records of their origin. The world was told they were founded simply to protect pilgrims on the road to Jerusalem, a noble mission wrapped in religious devotion. But when we examine the first decades of their existence, something extraordinary emerges. The Templars gained unprecedented privileges, authority, and resources long before they had the numbers or military strength to justify such influence. This is the first signal that their creation was not random, nor merely practical. Instead, it suggests the formation of a group with a predetermined purpose, one carefully shielded from the public eye. One of the most striking inconsistencies lies in their relationship with the Church. A newly formed order with only 9 knights should never have received the sweeping permissions that the Templars were granted: exemption from taxes, independence from local bishops, the right to build their own cemeteries, their own chapels, and most importantly, their own internal justice system. These are privileges reserved for organizations that hold immense leverage. Yet the Templars obtained all of it almost immediately. This alone raises a question historians avoid. What secret did 9 obscure knights possess that earned them the unwavering trust of the most powerful institution of the Middle Ages? For the Church to give so much to so few, something of tremendous importance must have been involved, something that could not be openly acknowledged. As we follow the traces hidden in medieval manuscripts, a pattern appears. The earliest Templars spent nearly a decade not fighting, but excavating beneath the ruins of the Temple of Solomon. They were granted unrestricted access to an area guarded fiercely for centuries. No army, no king, no sultan had been allowed to disturb those foundations, and yet 9 knights were given freedom to dig, explore, and recover what had been buried since antiquity. What were they searching for? What could be so valuable that it justified forming an entire order around its recovery? The answer, whatever it was, altered their destiny. When they emerged from those ruins, they were no longer a small group of devout warriors. They became a political force, a spiritual authority, and an economic engine that reshaped Europe. This transformation did not go unnoticed. Monarchs who once dismissed them began to approach with caution. Chroniclers speak in guarded tones, hinting at discoveries that should not be spoken of openly, artifacts unfit for common knowledge, and teachings whispered only among the chosen. It is here, in this quiet shift, that the first true layer of the forbidden mystery appears. The Templars recovered something beneath the Temple of Solomon, something that gave them leverage over kings and papal officials alike, something powerful enough to grant them autonomy in a world where autonomy did not exist. And this brings us to the key question of this first topic. What did they find that reshaped the balance of power in medieval Europe? Whatever the answer may be, it was significant enough to forge an order that grew beyond any precedent, survived every attempt at suppression, and left behind a shadow that still reaches across centuries. This is only the beginning of the unraveling, and the truth hidden in these origins is far from the most disturbing piece of the puzzle. When the earliest accounts of the Knights Templar are examined with the attention they deserve, one detail becomes impossible to ignore. The order rose too fast. Their expansion was not the natural growth of a small group of devout warriors. It was an explosion, almost as if an unseen force had propelled them forward. Within a few short years, the Templars went from 9 anonymous knights to a recognized global authority whose influence stretched across continents. This rapid ascent is the heart of the second layer of the forbidden mystery. Someone, or something, gave them a level of support that no other brotherhood in history received so quickly. And the question that remains unanswered is simple: why? The first clue lies in their sudden protection under some of the most powerful figures of medieval Europe. Nobles who normally hesitated to support unknown warriors began offering them land, wealth, and military equipment. Entire families donated estates without hesitation. Kings opened gates that had remained closed to other religious orders for decades. Even the Church, an institution known for territorial disputes, internal rivalries, and strict control, embraced the Templars with a level of trust that bordered on reverence. Such unity among political and religious powers was unheard of. Yet with the Templars, it happened seamlessly, almost eerily, as if all these authorities recognized something in them that the public did not understand. The second clue is even more intriguing. The Templars were granted a rare privilege, the right to recruit from every corner of Christendom. This was not merely a military benefit, it was a strategic advantage that allowed them to absorb men of diverse backgrounds, languages, and skills. Architects, engineers, scribes, traders, scholars, and warriors joined the order. With each new member, their internal knowledge expanded. The Templars built not only an army, but a machine fueled by information. manpower, and loyalty that bypassed regional politics entirely. Their identity became universal, transcending borders and turning the order into something closer to a multinational force than a medieval brotherhood. Another factor in their rise lies in their uncanny ability to build alliances in regions where Christian influence was weak or unstable. Reports show that Templars communicated and traded with groups the Church considered adversaries. They negotiated with merchants in Muslim cities, collaborated with Jewish financiers, and interacted with Eastern Christian factions ignored by Rome. These connections were not superficial, they were deep, consistent, and mutually beneficial. The Templars understood something that others did not. Power grows faster when information flows across boundaries. Their willingness to operate beyond the strict confines of European politics allowed them to see the medieval world through a broader, more strategic lens. And yet, the most mysterious element of their rise remains what they did not reveal. The Templars left no detailed records explaining how they managed to secure such vast resources so early in their existence. Historians attempted to fill these gaps with speculation, but the truth is more unsettling. The sources of their power were protected with such rigor that even centuries of research have not uncovered them fully. Their archives vanished. Their early documents were lost or destroyed. Their internal records were encoded or sealed. What remains are hints, fragments of testimonies, letters written in cautious language, and chronicles that offer glimpses rather than clarity. This leads us to a conclusion as troubling as it is undeniable. The Templars' meteoric rise cannot be explained solely by faith, bravery, or divine mission. Something else fueled their ascent, something buried deep within their origins, hidden behind vows of silence and protected by the unprecedented privileges they received. And if the Church and kings were willing to support them so completely, the Templars must have possessed knowledge or leverage powerful enough to command that loyalty. Topic 2 reveals the unsettling truth that the Templars' rise was engineered, not improvised, and the forces behind their ascent remain, to this day, one of the most closely guarded secrets in medieval history. Anyone intercepting these records would find numbers that made no sense, symbols that had no clear meaning, and signatures that looked more like sigils than names. It was as if every piece of information they handled was intentionally wrapped in layers of secrecy, ensuring that only the initiated could understand the true nature of their operations. This encoded economy gave them something even more powerful: control. Kings borrowed from them, nobles were indebted to them, pilgrims trusted them with their life savings. With every coin that passed through Templar hands, their influence deepened. It was a fusion of knowledge that the medieval world was not prepared to witness, let alone accept. It came from their ability to see what others could not. They created a hidden infrastructure, informational, economic, and diplomatic, that allowed them to operate with autonomy that bordered on sovereignty. It is no wonder that so many later accused them of heresy, witchcraft, and sorcery. There comes a point in the Templars' rise when their influence begins to blur the line between military order and sovereign power. By the mid-13th century, the Templars were no longer simply servants of the Church or protectors of pilgrims. They had grown into something far more formidable, a force whose authority operated parallel to crowns and papacies. And it is in this transformation that the fourth layer of the forbidden mystery emerges. The Templars developed a jurisdiction of their own, a legal system inaccessible to outsiders, and a chain of command bound by vows that superseded the authority of kings. In a medieval world defined by hierarchy, this independence was not just unusual, it was unprecedented. Within their fortresses, the Templars implemented rules, punishments, and rituals that even high-ranking clergy were not allowed to witness. Their meetings were held behind doors reinforced with iron and guarded by sentinels who answered to no monarch. Witnesses described chambers lit only by torches, long tables carved with cryptic markings, and ceremonies conducted in languages that common monks could not interpret. Whether these accounts were exaggerated or not, one truth remains: the Templars built an internal world governed by its own structures of power, a world where orders were absolute, oaths were unbreakable, and secrets were protected with a severity that bordered on fanaticism. This autonomy gave rise to a new fear among European rulers. Kings could negotiate with nobles, pressure bishops, and manipulate alliances. But the Templars, they answered to no kingdom. Their loyalty was directed inward, toward a mysterious central authority whose instructions traveled across continents with astonishing speed. It was rumored that even the Grand Master himself did not act alone, that decisions of enormous consequence were made by an inner circle whose identities were shielded behind layers of hierarchy. Some chroniclers speak of a council of shadows, others of brothers without names, suggesting a governing body invisible to the public, whose power extended to every commandery across Europe. The most unsettling aspect of this system was the Templars' ability to enforce their own laws without external interference. If a knight broke his oath, he was judged by the order. If a commander misused funds, he was tried internally. No king, no bishop, no secular court had jurisdiction over them. This legal immunity empowered the Templars to operate as a state within a state, a sovereign entity that collected taxes, built fortifications, controlled trade routes, and maintained independent armies. For a medieval monarch already threatened by rival dynasties, the idea of a military order functioning outside royal authority was nothing short of terrifying. And it was in this climate of rising tension that accusations began to form. Not openly, not yet, but in whispers behind palace doors, in uneasy conversations among bishops, and in sealed letters sent across kingdoms. What happens when a power grows beyond the reach of kings? What happens when an organization possesses wealth beyond monarchies, armies feared by enemies, and knowledge guarded with religious devotion? Inevitably, suspicion transforms into hostility, and hostility becomes a spark. This is the heart of topic for the Templars' greatest strength. Their autonomy was also the seed of their downfall. Their independence, once admired, began to be interpreted as defiance. Their secrecy, once respected, became dangerous. Their silence, once symbolic, became threatening. The order had built a structure so strong, so self-sufficient, that it appeared indestructible. And nothing frightens a ruler more than a force that he cannot control. As the tension between the Templars and the great powers of Europe intensified, another layer of the forbidden mystery began to emerge, one that would eventually fuel the most sensational accusations ever made against a medieval order. While kings envied their wealth and feared their independence, it was their beliefs that stirred the deepest discomfort within the Church. Not because the Templars rejected Christianity, but because they possessed interpretations of ancient texts, traditions, and symbols that did not align with the official doctrine. This intellectual divergence, subtle at first, grew into a silent fracture that widened dangerously with each passing decade. The Templars were not just soldiers, they were scholars, linguists, astronomers, builders, and archivists, and their exposure to ideas gathered across Jewish, Arab, Greek, and Eastern Christian sources created a worldview far more complex than Rome was willing to accept. Inside their commanderies, manuscripts were translated that had been forgotten for centuries. Mathematical treatises from Cordoba, philosophical writings from Constantinople, and esoteric commentaries from regions beyond Jerusalem all found their way into Templar libraries. These multilingual collections gave the order access to a reservoir of knowledge unavailable to most of Europe. With this intellectual arsenal, the Templars began to question the rigidity of medieval theological interpretations. They studied apocryphal writings, examined symbolic traditions predating the Church, and contemplated ideas that blended spirituality with science, a dangerous mixture for an era where questioning dogma could be equated with heresy. The Templars never openly defied the Church, but their intellectual independence created an invisible tension that grew steadily, like pressure building beneath the earth. This growing divergence became more evident in their rituals. Many of their ceremonies were performed behind closed doors, shielded from clerical supervision. Outsiders speculated endlessly about what happened inside these gatherings. Some described symbolic gestures misunderstood by common observers. Others mentioned oaths that referenced ancient patriarchs rather than saints. Others suggested the presence of coded teachings preserved only for knights of certain ranks. Whatever the truth was, secrecy alone was enough to breed suspicion, and in the medieval world, suspicion was the seed from which accusations of heresy quickly sprouted. The more the Templars protected their traditions, the more outsiders insisted they were hiding something sinister. The Order's spiritual practices did not help extinguish these fears. Unlike other Christian groups of their time, the Templars emphasized discipline over display, contemplation over ritual, and silence over public devotion. Their chapels were stark, their liturgies minimalistic, and their symbols geometric rather than ornate. To those accustomed to the elaborate ceremonies of the Church, this austerity seemed unnatural, even unsettling. With growing mistrust, clerics and monarchs began interpreting Templar simplicity not as humility, but as deviation. The question that haunted them was simple yet dangerous. What if the Templars possessed a version of spiritual truth that differed from the one Rome controlled? And worse, what if they believed that truth granted them authority independent of the Church? This fear soon evolved into a strategic weapon. Kings who owed them money, bishops threatened by their power, and officials who could not infiltrate their hierarchy all embraced a narrative that served their ambitions, that the Templars were not merely secretive but unorthodox, heretical, even dangerous. And once this idea gained momentum, the path toward the Order's destruction became inevitable. The Church and the monarchies needed only a justification, and the Templars' thirst for hidden knowledge provided the perfect excuse. The heart of this topic reveals a brutally simple truth. The Templars were condemned not for what they did, but for what they knew. Their pursuit of forbidden texts, ancient wisdom, and alternative interpretations of faith placed them on a collision course with authorities who demanded ideological obedience. Knowledge, once again, proved to be the deadliest weapon of all. As we reach the final steps of this journey, the silence surrounding the Knights Templar begins to take on a new meaning. It is no longer the silence of secrecy, fear, or ritual, but the silence of something greater. Something that refuses to disappear even after 8 centuries of persecution, accusations, burnings, and rewritten history. Because despite everything the monarchies destroyed, despite everything the Church erased, despite every archive burned, and every manuscript torn from libraries, one truth remained untouchable. The Templars built a legacy stronger than their enemies, stronger than their swords, stronger even than the institutions that sought their extinction. A legacy woven into architecture, finance, military strategy, political structures, and spiritual thought. A legacy that cannot be reduced to relics or ruins. Because it did not live only in the physical world, but in the minds of those who dared to ask what truly lies behind the official narrative. The final mystery of the Templars is not what they possessed, what they found, or what they allegedly worshipped. The final mystery is their persistence. How does an order destroyed with brutality, publicly humiliated, hunted by indebted kings, and silenced by papal decrees continue to awaken fascination, fear, and speculation? The answer is hidden in the same silence that once protected them. The Templars mastered something the world of their time never understood. Knowledge cannot be burned. Ideas cannot be hanged. Codes cannot be eradicated. What they preserved, whether ancient wisdom, forbidden manuscripts, forgotten technologies, or spiritual interpretations unaligned with medieval power, transcended the physical body of the Order. It survived in whispers, symbols, foundations, maps, encrypted documents, and in the alternative threads of history they refused to surrender. This is the immortal legacy, the undeniable truth that their greatest treasure was not made of gold, relics, or artifacts, but of understanding. Understanding of the world, of systems, of power, of the intersection between faith and knowledge. And as long as humanity questions the past, seeks forbidden answers, or tries to fill the gaps left by official history, the Templars will remain alive. Not as an order of knights, but as a force that challenges the boundaries of the dominant narrative. Their downfall was a political act. Their immortality, however, was an inevitable accident, because no king, no pope, no army can destroy an idea that spreads like a shadow across the centuries. So, as this documentary closes, you are left with the same question that echoed from the beginning. What was the secret so powerful, so unsettling, that it drove some of the most influential men of the medieval world to destroy the most feared order in Europe. The truth, like the Templars themselves, was not erased, only pushed into the underground chambers of history, where it still waits for those who have the courage to look deeper. And now, having walked through each layer of their rise, their power, their knowledge, and their downfall, one realization becomes clear. The Templars were never truly defeated. They transcended. Their silence outlasted the noise of their enemies. Their secrets survived their accusers. Their influence echoes to this day, through every unresolved enigma, every hidden symbol, every shadow cast over the past. The immortal legacy stands untouched, and the mystery continues. If this journey into the forbidden mystery of the Knights Templar stirred something inside you, then don't leave this story buried. Help bring it into the light. Subscribe to the channel, activate the notifications, and leave your comment telling what revelation impacted you the most. Your voice strengthens this community of seekers who refuse to accept the surface of history. And if you want to go even deeper into secrets the world tried to erase, hit the like button and share this video, because every action you take helps uncover the next hidden chapter waiting in the shadows.